The series begins in December 2020 during the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. We see John training in boxing, and after he finishes, he waits for the bus to go back home. Suddenly, a drunk man without a mask shows up and tries to get on the bus. He starts arguing with the bus driver and even tries to hit him. But John steps in. He calmly handles the situation and delivers a few light punches to the man. John apologizes to him, and the drunk man eventually gives up and walks away. John then gets on the bus, and everyone claps for him because of his bravery and initiative in solving the problem. When John arrives home, he suddenly hears his mother talking on the phone with the owner of their coffee shop. She's apologizing for being late on the rent and is begging him to give her one more month. This upsets John deeply, and he leaves the house feeling sad. A few days later, it's time for the Korean Wrestling Championship. John enters the competition and keeps advancing through several matches until he faces a wrestler named Woo Jin, who turns out to be very strong. Woo Jin manages to land several blows on John, but in the end, John hits him multiple times in the side with his famously powerful fists and wins the championship. He receives the prize money. At that point, Woo Jin sits down with his coach, who scolds him for losing and gives him a small amount of money to buy food. Woo Jin feels upset and leaves the place. Suddenly, he sees John waiting for him and inviting him to eat together. Woo Jin is surprised by John's kindness and his apology, as well as his offer to share part of his prize money to buy them food. Woo Jin agrees and says he wants to eat meat, but John apologizes to him and tells him he can only pay a certain amount because he plans to give the rest to his mother, so she can pay the rent for their coffee shop. Woo Jin is impressed by him and gives him the money he has so they can add it together and eat at a better restaurant. They sit down and talk about their lives. Woo Jin finds out that John is 2 years younger than him, so he jokingly asks him to show more respect. They both laugh together. John starts preparing the meat, and Woo Jin is surprised by his skill. He learns that John worked many different jobs just to help his mother with household expenses. He also finds out that John only started training in wrestling 3 years ago, and his first training sessions were on car tires. Woo Jin is amazed because he himself has been training since childhood, yet they're almost on the same level. Suddenly, he discovers that John also served in the Navy, just like him, but John was more senior and part of a higher-ranking unit. Woo Jin stands up and salutes him, shocked and impressed, and begins treating him very formally. But John insists they treat each other like brothers, with no titles or formality. A strong friendship begins to form between them. Meanwhile, on the news, reporters express public anger over a building project that has been halted more than 3 times. They demand that the government either demolish it or complete it quickly, as it ruins the appearance of the area and poses a danger to citizens. At the same time, a meeting is held between the investor, who is the heir of one of Korea's richest conglomerates, and the bank that funded the building, with 400 billion yen. The bank manager asks the investor to pay back at least 100 billion yen. The deputy governor tries to calm them down, saying the governor wants the building completed as soon as possible for public safety. Suddenly, another man enters the room. It's the CEO of another company named Myung Kim, who hands out his business card to everyone. But his card doesn't mention what his company actually does. The investor quickly realizes that Myung is a loan shark, someone who lends money at interest, and gets very angry because he feels someone like that doesn't belong among them. Myung tells him that he knew his father when he was still a baby. He explains that his father once went through a major financial crisis and asked him for a loan. Out of gratitude, he invited Myung to their home, and his mother cooked a special meal just for him. Embarrassed and humiliated, the investor agrees to borrow the money and asks for a 100 billion yen loan, but under 3 conditions. 1. A bar must be built on the hotel's rooftop. 2. A tavern should be added in the hotel's basement. 3. The hotel must also be turned into a hospital to help the poor if a virus like COVID-19 spreads again. The investor agrees but asks for time to consult his father. Myung leaves the room and gets into his car. His wife asks him if they believe the lie. Myung replies that they got everything they wanted, and that during this period, they need to target small business owners who will likely fall into debt due to the economic depression caused by COVID-19. He tells his sales team to start working the next day. Meanwhile, we return to John, who gives his mother the prize money. She is overjoyed and tells him she'll first pay back her brother and then will have just enough left for the coffee shop rent. The next day, Myung's agents begin to spread throughout the area. They entice people with offers to borrow any amount they want at an interest rate of only 5 to 7%, which is much lower than the banks. Small business owners are surprised and ask what the catch is and what Myung and his team would gain from offering such loans. Myung's company agents tell people that they're backed by the government and are only here to support small business owners like them. Most of the business owners agree, feeling very happy and hopeful. Back to Myung, he looks at piles of signed loan applications from the business owners, contracts filled with hidden clauses they didn't even notice, one of which will eventually ruin their lives. Myung and his men begin visiting those who took out loans, starting with John's mother, who is sitting alone at the coffee shop. John Min, Myung's assistant, enters and tells her that she was supposed to pay 10% of the debt within 24 hours of signing the contract. Since the deadline has passed, the amount has increased, the repayment period is shorter, and the interest has risen. John's mother is shocked. She says she'll call the police and quickly phones her son, crying and panicked. John hears her distress, then suddenly hears things breaking. He rushes to his mother's cafe. Within minutes, he arrives and faces off against more than 15 of Myung's men and defeats all of them. Then, he runs to protect his mother. Just as he's about to hit John Min, Myung himself enters with a huge wrestler named Bayum, who attacks John and beats him until he passes out. Myung stops him and offers John a job, but John spits in his face and refuses. Myung ties him up and carves a mark on his face with a knife. John's mother takes him to the hospital, where he stays for a long time until he recovers. When he wakes up, the doctor tells him he needs surgery because the scar on his face could seriously affect him at such a young age. But when John learns the cost is very high, he refuses the surgery. He leaves with Woo Jin, his close friend, who is heartbroken. Woo Jin then calls someone, asking for a loan to help pay off John's mother's debt. John overhears and feels deeply sad, knowing his friend is begging others to help him. Later, they go with the lender who gives them 100 million yen, but only on the condition that they work for him collecting debts. John refuses completely, not wanting to become like Myung and hurt others the way his mother was hurt. He and Woo Jin agree to never do anything that goes against the ethics of wrestling. At the same time, a woman named Hyun appears. She's been secretly monitoring one of Myung's company agents at Smile Capital. She records John Min talking about the money they've collected. It becomes clear that she's working to expose the loan sharks and get them arrested. Meanwhile, an old man named Mr. Chi calls a former Navy soldier and asks him to find a trustworthy young man to protect his granddaughter, who turns out to be Hyun, because he fears for her safety due to her risky work. The ex-soldier interviews several young men, but isn't satisfied with any of them. Suddenly, he gets a call from Woo Jin and smiles, asking him to come right away. Woo Jin arrives with John. When they arrive, the ex-soldier tells them he will recommend them to Mr. Chi, a kind-hearted man who helps people. If they need money, he'll even lend it interest-free. The next day, Mr. Chi reviews their files and is very impressed. He decides to meet them. He tells them he used to lend money with interest, but left that business behind. Now, he helps people who need money for critical surgeries without charging interest. He asks John to share how he got into wrestling. John explains that when he was young, he used to see his father beating his mother during a financial crisis, which later led to alcoholism. Since then, John had always wished to become strong enough to protect his mom. Mr. Chi asks about the bruises on John's face, and John says a loan shark did it. Mr. Chi comforts him and says he'll hire him as his granddaughter's bodyguard and pay him a large salary. John and Woo Jin are thrilled. Later, someone named Mr. O, one of Mr. Chi's assistants, visits John and gives him 100 million yen, saying it's a 2-year advance salary. John is shocked and overjoyed. He hands the money to his mother, who breaks down in tears of joy and thanks both him and Woo Jin. The next day, John and Woo Jin visit Mr. Chi again. Mr. Chi tells them that they haven't officially been hired yet, because the one who decides is his granddaughter, Hyun. John is shocked and asks what will happen if she rejects them. Mr. Chi says he'll get his money back, but reassures him that she'll likely be convinced. Mr. Chi leaves, and Hyun enters. She's supposed to meet them to assign them their roles, but she's rude and kicks them out of the office. John drops to his knees and begs her to let him work, explaining that he already received an advance salary and used it to pay off his mother's debt. Hyun realizes his mother was deceived by unclear terms in the Smile Capital contract, like many others. So she agrees to hire him. They go together to a restaurant, where Hyun tells them her grandfather used to be a loan shark, but now lends money only to those who truly need it. Still, some people exploit this and borrow money even when they don't need it, so her job is to find them and investigate. She tells them about a man named Song who borrowed money from her grandfather and disappeared for a year and a half. She randomly saw him again at a train station, now homeless. She followed him and discovered he had joined a gang that impersonates homeless people. steals their IDs, sets up fake businesses using them, and takes loans from loan sharks. Then they vanish, leaving the real people burdened with the debt. She explains that their mission is to find out who the gang works for and how many IDs they collect each day. She then shows them a photo of a Smile Capital member and asks if John knows him. It turns out to be John Min, the man who attacked his mother. Hyun is thrilled that her suspicions were correct. She tells John and Woo-jin to secretly follow the suspects without interfering. Their job is to find out who they meet and how many IDs they collect. They go to a subway station where many homeless people sleep. John and Woo-jin follow the fake charity workers, pretending to help the homeless. These workers convince them to hand over their ID cards, saying they'll bring money from the charity in a week. Most homeless people agree easily. Eventually, they reach a homeless man they had tricked earlier without giving him any money. He confronts them, and they attack him. John wants to step in, but Woo-jin stops him to avoid ruining the plan. But John can't take it. He rushes in to defend the homeless man. Woo-jin joins him, and together they defeat the entire group. Song and his followers flee. Woo-jin calls an ambulance, and the doctors later say the homeless man could have died if they hadn't helped. Hyun finds out what happened and refuses to work with them again. Woo-jin apologizes, but John stands firm, saying he did the right thing and doesn't regret it. He shows her the scar on his face and tells her that the head of Smile Capital did this after destroying his mother's business and threatening to kill her. That's why he jumped in when he saw someone dying in front of him, because not helping would have made him worse than the man who scarred him. Hyun is moved by his words and agrees to let them keep working with her. Meanwhile, Song visits Myung's assistant and tells him that people are watching them. The people following him seem to be connected to someone who took a loan long ago and wants payback. He says he recognized them by the caps they were wearing. Myung's assistant decides to visit the man who borrowed money, which turns out to be Mr. Chi. Yeon sees them through the security camera and quickly turns off the lights. She hides with John and Woo-jin. The intruders try to get in, but fail. John Min tries to identify the building's material and realizes there's a huge safe inside. He decides to break in one day and steal everything. Later, Mr. Chi returns, and Hyun tells him what happened. Mr. Chi tells her to stop the investigation, but she refuses. She shows him John's scar and says the head of Smile Capital did it. Mr. Chi is shocked when he sees the scar and asks John for the name of the man who did it. John says he doesn't know, but remembers the man had a mark just like the one on his own face. Mr. Chi enters a state of shock and sits alone, remembering his past. When he used to work as a loan shark, he recalls how he shut down his company and told his employees, including Myung, that he had decided to repent. He gave them a year's salary and end-of-service bonuses and walked away. That night, Myung and his assistant Byum decide to rob Mr. Chi's safe. The building guard informs Mr. Chi that someone broke into his office. Mr. Chi rushes there himself to check who it is. He finds Byum and another man and easily defeats them both. But suddenly, Myung sneaks up behind him and stabs him multiple times. Mr. Chi fights back, grabs the knife, and slashes Myung across the face. But suddenly, Byum regains consciousness and attacks Mr. Chi with full force, throwing him out the window. Mr. Chi falls right in front of them. There's no way he could survive. Byum is shaken and can't believe what he just did. Myung tries to calm him down and tells him to grab the contents of the safe and run. But suddenly, they discover Mr. Chi's body is gone. They realize he survived and that one day he will come back for them. Mr. Chi snaps out of his memory, worried that his granddaughter could be killed. Meanwhile, Hyun is sitting with John and Woo-jin trying to figure out how Myung managed to find them. They realize it's because of their distinctive hats, which were easily recognizable. They decide to go out to eat while planning their next move, and their friendship deepens. Hyun shares her painful past. As a child, she had spinal cancer. After recovering, she learned her father had died and that she was alone in the world. She went to an orphanage, but due to the harsh treatment there, she ran away and lived as a homeless person. She survived by eating people's leftovers and endured abuse and harassment until she eventually returned to the orphanage. At 17, she entered Mr. Chi's orphanage, where he treated her like a daughter. He later adopted her, gave her everything she wished for, and completely changed her life. John and Woo-jin are deeply moved by her story and try to comfort her. They all share a happy meal together. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Myung is talking to his men about his plan to invest in the building, on the condition that the chairman builds a pub and a bar inside it. He also plans to add illegal gambling halls. To please powerful officials who were deprived of entertainment due to COVID-19, his ultimate plan is to film them while gambling and blackmail them in exchange for money and favors no one else can offer. That's why they need to make the building's owner accept the 100 billion yen loan by any means necessary. Myung instructs his men to collect the remaining debts from people, no matter how. His men go to the heir of the conglomerate who wants to buy the building. They wait until he's alone, attack him, strip him, and film him doing humiliating things to use the footage for blackmail. Meanwhile, John, Woo-jin, and Yeon are on their way to another restaurant. But when they arrive, they find it destroyed, and the owner sobbing. She had borrowed money from a man named who refused to give her more time to repay it. The three of them are furious and decide they must take down Song to reach the people above him and expose their crimes to the police. That night, they head to Song's hideout. One of Song's men notices Hyun's car and calls Myung's assistant to report it. Myung's team quickly creates a plan to ambush Hyun and the group. Song pretends he's just collecting IDs from homeless people as usual and heads to the subway station. John and Woo-jin follow him while Hyun waits in the car. Suddenly, a large number of vehicles full of Myung's men surround John and Woo-jin from all directions. Hyun is shocked and realizes their plan has failed. She quickly calls her grandfather to inform him. John and Woo-jin face the entire gang alone. Shortly after, Hyun rushes in to help. Together, they defeat all of the gang members until none of them can even stand. Myung's assistant recognizes John's face and realizes his mother owns the cafe they destroyed. He sends Song's men to kidnap her. Mr. Chi sends his old friend Yang, his former gang partner, to protect John's mother. Yang manages to save her and even cuts off Song's leg, the one he famously uses to fight. He then brings John's mother to Mr. Chi. John, Woo-jin, and Hyun arrive, and Mr. Chi is furious. He tells them he's ready to destroy their future because this war won't end until someone dies. He declares that now it's time for the old generation to enter the battlefield. He starts planning with Yang and another ally named Deung to eliminate Myung Kim and his entire gang. Chi warns them about someone named Byum, a powerful man who threw him from the building and paralyzed him. John suggests that they relocate the money from the library since they've been compromised. He offers to let the three young fighters handle it because they're the only ones strong and trustworthy enough. They took down more than 30 men at once. Chi agrees and assigns the task to Hyun. She's told to pick up the money at a set time and deliver it to a secure location. Meanwhile, John's mother is cooking for Woo-jin and Hyun. Hyun is overjoyed to be with her and even wishes she were her mother. John's mother treats her with a tenderness Hyun had never felt before, leaving her both touched and happy. Later, she tells John and Woo-jin to get ready to move Mr. Chi's money. At the set time, the three of them leave in a vehicle carrying a large amount of boxes. When they arrive, John realizes the distance from the library to the car is long, so he and Woo-jin go to the warehouse to find carts. Meanwhile, one of Myung's men is waiting outside for Yeon, planning to ambush her. As she steps outside, Myung's assistant attacks and restrains her. Just then, Byum appears, the only one of Myung's men who ever defeated John. As soon as John sees him, he tells Woo-jin not to let him get caught no matter what. The two of them fight him, but Byum is much stronger. They manage to land several quick blows to his weak spots, eventually knocking him unconscious. Hyun regains consciousness, overpowers Myung's assistant, and ties him up. She then rushes to help John and Woo-jin restrain Byum. As they return to the money, they realize that Myung's assistant has escaped, meaning they're in danger. They quickly gather the money and load it into the car. John carries the biggest portion and waits for them to retrieve the rest from the vault, which turns out to be gold bars. The three prepare to move out, but suddenly they're surrounded by Myung's vehicles. Myung is determined to steal Mr. Chi's money so he can repay the building loan and execute his blackmail plan against the officials. Hyun calls John and tells him to follow her and do exactly what she does. She drives off through Myung's cars, and John follows. They stay in a fierce chase with the gang the entire way until Hyun's small car is wrecked. She and Woo-jin quickly get out, carrying the bags filled with heavy gold bars, which slow them down significantly. They run after the gang, but John blocks the gang's path and throws 2 boxes full of cash to give Hyun and Woo-jin time to escape. Unable to carry the gold any further, they abandon the bags and run as fast as they can to John's car, finally escaping the gang. Later, they arrive at Mr. Chi's place. He doesn't care about the money. He only asks if they're okay. Then he sits down with his friend Yang and says he regrets staying silent about Myung for all these years. He explains that after Myung took all his money, he vanished and went into hiding for a long time. Then, Chi heard that Myung had built a huge company using his documents and his money that was supposed to be his. He apologizes to Yang for stopping him from taking revenge back then. They soon find out that Byum is still in Mr. Chi's warehouse. Chi decides to let him go, but asks one of his men to follow him because he's sure Myung has his own private hospital, where his men get treated discreetly, avoiding police involvement. Meanwhile, Myung's assistant Jang arrives at his company and tells him everything that happened. He apologizes for failing. Myung tells his other assistant, John Min, to step outside so he can speak to Jang alone. He tells Jang that he's certain Chi deliberately left Byum in the warehouse to trace which hospital he ends up in. So he instructs Jang to plant men inside the hospital dressed as nurses. He also wants Jang to keep an eye on John, suspecting that Chi will try to reach him through one of his two trusted aides. Myung is convinced Chi will send Dyong, the one with excellent motorcycle skills and a deadly precision, someone capable of killing anyone in their family. He orders Jang to trap him once they identify him. Meanwhile, John is at Mr. Chi's house. Chi asks to speak with him privately and tells him that his debt is forgiven because he protected the money. He even offers to reward him by helping him open a peaceful restaurant far from the city to live there with his mother. But John refuses, insisting he must finish the mission or he'll never feel like he repaid Chai. Chi agrees and thanks him for his loyalty. Later, John, Woo Jin, and Hyeon meet Chi's friends to plan how they'll take down Myung Kim and his gang. Dyong decides to take Hyun with him because of her skill with motorcycles. Their mission is to eliminate John Min, Myung's most important gang member and the one most capable of destroying their plan. Due to his connections with the police, Yang chooses to take John and Woo Jin with him for the hospital raid. Before that, they train Hyeon and the team for a full day. Dyong starts observing John Min and waits until he's alone. Then he charges at him with a motorcycle and slashes him with a knife with ease. But suddenly, Myung's men, who had been watching John Min to protect him, show up and corner Dyong. Hyun arrives just in time and helps him escape, and they flee together. At the same time, Yang, John, and Woo Jin reach the hospital. They wait for Jang to appear, then quickly capture him before Myung's men disguised as nurses notice. They tie him up and take him to an old warehouse. There, they begin torturing him to get him to confess Myung's crimes. After a while, Mr. Chi arrives and convinces Jang to send Myung a photo and a secret message. That way, Myung will think Jang betrayed him and revealed all his secrets, and he'll send his men to eliminate him. Chi promises Jang that if he confesses everything, he'll protect him, get him medical treatment, help him escape abroad, and pay him whatever amount he wants. Jang agrees and tells them everything he knows about Myung. He says Byum handles small missions, like filming scandals of famous or powerful people to force them into taking loans from them. He explains the last scandal he recorded was of the heir to the L Group, who wanted to take over his friend's hotel and bankrupt him. He needed 100 billion yen and was thinking of borrowing it from Myung Kim, who was recommended to him by someone close to the governor. Jang explains Myung's main goal was to build a bar and casino and secretly film officials gambling. Once he exploited them fully, he would report them to the police. That way, the hotel would be shut down and become available for sale, allowing Myung to buy it cheaply and take control. Jang also reveals that John Min is responsible for the assassinations. His role is to remove any suspicion from Myung, shut down police investigations, and feed Myung any intel from inside the system. Chi then asks Jang where all these scandalous videos are stored. Jang says they're on a hard drive in Myung's bedroom, but it's secured by a vein print lock from Myung's arm. If he senses any threat, he can wipe the data from his phone. Also, if the drive is opened the wrong way, a chemical will trigger and destroy it entirely. Chi then asks how Myung gets rid of the bodies. He says that he disposes of the bodies by putting them in a huge fish tank and leaving them there until the fish completely devour and decompose them. Chi asks him one final question, the location of Myung Kim's safe. Jang tells him that the only one who knows its location is Byum, because he's the person Myung trusts the most and considers more than a brother. At that time, Myung learns what happened to John Min and is certain that Dyung is responsible. He decides to go after Dyung, Yang, and Chi. He begins by blackmailing a police officer to track Dyung's route after he left John's garage. The officer, terrified for his brother's life, stays up all night searching until he finally finds Dyung's home address and gives it to Myung. Meanwhile, Chi and the team are gathered together, enjoying their time and feeling happy. Later that night, everyone heads home. Dyung returns to his wife, who is in the final month of pregnancy, and they are eagerly waiting for their baby. Before sunrise, Myung and his gang knock on Dyung's door. Before his wife can open it, Dyung sees them through the window and realizes that Myung has found him. He quickly tells his wife to call the police and lock herself inside, no matter what happens. Jeong faces Myung and his men alone and puts up a fight. He gets stabbed multiple times all over his body and is left dying. Myung tells him that if he reveals the location of Yang and Chi, he will spare his wife's life. Hours later, Yang arrives at his restaurant and is surprised not to find his partner, who is late. In one of the rooms, he finds him murdered and drenched in blood. Suddenly, Yang enters the kitchen and finds Myung waiting for him. Yang asks how he found him, and Myung tells him that Jeong is dead, his wife and daughter too. Enraged, Yang attacks Myung with all his strength, but realizes too late that Myung has hidden blades in his shoes. Yang suffers several deep wounds before grabbing a longer knife to fight from a distance. They continue fighting until Myung ultimately kills Yang after stabbing him repeatedly. Meanwhile, John wakes up and takes his mother to the orphanage where she will stay since their house is no longer safe. Yeon joins them in her car. Back at the house, Chi and Woo Jin are alone. While Woo Jin is eating, he notices suspicious movement outside and alerts Chi, who checks the cameras and sees Myung and his gang surrounding the house. Chi tells Woo Jin to help him get to the basement quickly where he keeps a gun, but Woo Jin doesn't make it in time. He begins to fight the gang, who are armed, while Woo Jin sticks to his ethics as a wrestler and uses only his fists. Chi reaches the basement, grabs the gun, and shoots down several men. He then calls out to Woo Jin to check on him, but Woo Jin has been stabbed multiple times and collapses. The gang corners Chi. Byum attacks and breaks his back. Myung then enters and tells Chi he'll let him die peacefully because he had once meant a lot to him. Then he kills him, takes all the money from the safe, and sets the house on fire. Shortly after, John and Hyeon arrive and are shocked to see the smoke billowing from the house. They rush inside. John finds his only friend, Woo Jin, drenched in blood, and quickly carries him out of the house. Hyeon finds her grandfather and collapses in tears as she tries to lift him. But John realizes he's already dead, and there's no saving him. He pulls Hyeon out of the burning house. Woo Jin is taken to the hospital, where doctors try desperately to save him. He is losing a lot of blood, and they find out he has a rare blood type. Coincidentally, John has the same blood type and offers to donate. The nurse takes one bag of blood, and John begs her to take another, but she refuses, saying it would be dangerous for him. John breaks down in front of her, pleading with her to save his only friend. After it's all over, John goes outside to sit with Hyeon, only to find that she has suddenly disappeared. Shortly after, the doctor informs John that the surgery was successful and Woo Jin is going to live. Time passes, and John and Woo Jin move to a distant city with Mr. Oh, Mr. Chi's assistant. They live there for several months, dedicating themselves to intense training to become stronger. One day, they decide to return and face Myung once again. Determined to destroy him, Mr. Oh agrees and gives them the last of his money, emergency funds that Mr. Chi had hidden. He also gives them his car and asks them to take care of themselves. John and Woo Jin return to Seoul and stay in the room of Mr. Oh's granddaughter Mandu. From there, they begin their plan to gather all of Myung's enemies to unite against him and bring him down. They first approach a loan shark who had been scammed by Myung through fake companies. But the loan shark refuses to go against Myung, saying his life is more important than money. So they decide to meet the heir of the L group, whom Myung is blackmailing with a sex video he secretly filmed of him washing his car, forcing him to borrow money and buy the hotel where Myung wants to build his bar. The heir is exhausted from Myung's threats and terrified that his reputation will be destroyed. At the same time, he can't borrow more money from Myung because his father is strictly against the idea. Suddenly, the heir receives a message from John and Woo Jin, requesting a meeting to discuss a plan to destroy Myung's empire. He agrees and meets them, bringing along a relative who works in the police force named Woo Diang. They all gather, drink, bond, and begin to trust one another. Then they plan to hack Myung's device while he's in his company office. From there, they'll erase all the videos stored in the safe at his house, eliminating his leverage over the L Group heir. Everyone agrees to the plan. A cybersecurity expert is brought in. She installs a device that forces Myung's phone to connect to Wi-Fi. When Myung arrives at the company to sign a contract, his phone does indeed connect to the network, but they discover that he has a second phone. The heir of the L Group decides to confront him and says he won't sign the contract unless Myung deletes the video himself. Myung gives him the second phone and pretends to delete the video while connecting it to Wi-Fi. At that exact moment, the cybersecurity expert successfully wipes all data from the safe at Myung's house and copies all the files. Officer Woo Diang now has a complete list of everyone involved in Myung's crimes. He quickly returns to the police station, where he finds one of the lieutenants still working late in the office. He tells him he's working on a major case and will send him the details the next day. It's a case involving a notorious loan shark named Myung. The lieutenant gets excited, but as soon as he leaves, he secretly calls Myung and informs him of the information he has. Myung tells him that if he brings him the intel, he'll pay him 100 million yen, and if he manages to access Mr. Chi's device, he'll pay him double. The lieutenant is thrilled and waits until the device sends him something. He manages to hack it and trace Mr. O's location. Meanwhile, Myung returns home and finds out what happened to his vault. But he doesn't care. He apparently has a backup copy. On the other side, Woo Jin and John decide to return all of Mr. Chi's money out of respect for him. They begin gathering information about Byom, who is the only person that knows the location of the vault. While searching for him, they are shocked to receive a picture of Mr. O tied up. Then, they get a call from Byom telling them to meet him at a certain location, or they'll see Mr. O's corpse in front of them. Diang learns what happened to her grandfather and decides to join them. She prepares her bow, which she's highly skilled at using. Woo Jin then calls the Navy soldier who had introduced them to Mr. Chi. As soon as the soldier learns that Mr. Chi is dead and Mr. O has been kidnapped, he agrees to help them. They all go to the designated location, where they find Byum waiting, planning to kill them. But John, now much stronger after all his training, manages to overpower Byum without giving him a chance to fight back. He knocks him out completely. John asks the Navy soldier to interrogate him about the vault's location. Then, they search everywhere for Mr. O, but can't find him. Meanwhile, the sergeant hears about what happened and decides to send a team of officers to the location. However, because of the corrupt lieutenant working for Myung, the plan fails. Myung's gang is tipped off that the police are on the way, and Mr. O disappears again. John and the group return to Byum to interrogate him, but are shocked by how much pain he can endure. Then, suddenly, while he's tied up, Byum cuts off his own tongue so he can never speak. John insists on taking him to the hospital because he refuses to let anyone die, no matter what. At that time, the sergeant manages to obtain a search, arrest, and detention warrant for Myung and all his men. After analyzing all the data on his phone, the entire gang is arrested, except for Myung, who manages to escape at the very last moment. He decides to take revenge on the heir of Company L and sends him a video of himself being tortured just to show that he's still in control. Then, Myung starts monitoring the sergeant as he heads to work and poisons the drink he usually has every day. He also hires a car to run over the cybercrime investigator and kills her. With that, he exacts his revenge on everyone who played a role in exposing him and helping the police try to catch him. Back to the sergeant. He realizes he drank the poison and rushes into a shop to eat salt and induce vomiting to save himself. At the same time, John and Woo Jin receive a message revealing Mr. O's location. They prepare themselves and sneak out behind Diang's back, not wanting her involved out of concern for her safety. But Diang discovers them and insists on joining. The three of them head to the agreed-upon location, where they find Myung himself waiting, with his entire gang surrounding them from all sides, armed. John and Woo Jin, having learned from past mistakes, quickly look for anything to protect themselves. Myung watches them take down his men, so he threatens to kill Mr. O if they don't surrender. Suddenly, Diang appears and shoots an arrow at Myung, wounding him in the arm. Myung and the rest of the gang flee, and John and the others succeed in rescuing Mr. O, who thanks them for everything they've done for him. He returns home with his granddaughter. The next day, the sergeant gathers with John, Woo Jin, and the heir of Company L to plan how to finally find Myung, who has completely vanished. John remembers Myung's former assistant, the one who had told them everything about him in exchange for Mr. Chi's promise to help him escape. They try to track him down, but learn that he's in hiding out of fear of Myung. Eventually, they manage to trace his bank account and send him money to lure him out. It works, and as soon as he contacts them, he demands money in exchange for revealing the only place Myung could possibly escape to, and the method he'll use to get there. He asks for 1 billion yen. The heir of Company L agrees and gives John and Woo Jin the money. As soon as the transfer is made, the assistant tells them that Myung will escape in a freight truck headed to Vietnam, taking all his money with him. He also gives them the truck's number so they can find it quickly, along with a contact number of a friend who can help them sneak onto the ship easily. The time for the ship's departure comes, and John and Woo Jin board it. They split up to search for Byum and Myung. Woo Jin finds Byum and confronts him. Thanks to his training, he defeats him just as easily as John had done before. Meanwhile, John confronts Myung, furious over what he did to him and his mother and how he ruined their lives. He He continues beating Myung until he finally knocks him out with a glove, reinforced with metal. Contrary to expectations, John feels deeply saddened because he used a weapon to defeat his opponent, something that goes against his principles. Woojin tries to comfort him, saying that even if they stray from their path, they'll always find their way back together. After that, they go to the cargo containing the gold bars and take all of it. The heir of Company L arrives with his yacht to pick them up from the ship. At the same time, the sergeant arrives at the ship and arrests Myung and Byum. Finally, we return to John, who decides, along with the others, to build a massive hospital with the money they have, under the sponsorship of Company L. They decide to name it after Mr. Chi and fulfill his dream of treating people for free. The heir of Company L decides to reward them by giving each of them 2 gold bars and tells them it's a token of gratitude for everything they've done for him. He also asks them to stay in touch because he knows he'll never find friends as loyal and courageous as they are. John and Woojin are thrilled, not just because of the gold, but because they avenged Mr. Chi and John reclaimed justice for his mother.